Hello, welcome to the first segment of the Center for Nonprofit Excellence four-segment series about starting a nonprofit organization. My name is Ed Cordes, and I direct the consulting services here at CNPE. Now, almost everyone knows that starting a nonprofit entails the completion of a substantial amount of paperwork to obtain legal status as a nonprofit organization. In this segment, however, I will cover some important topics that you must give serious consideration to before you get to all of that paperwork. Let's begin by taking a moment to review what a nonprofit organization actually is. It really all begins with need. There are all sorts of needs in our community that must be met. Everything from cookies to shaving cream to affordable housing to public safety, all sorts of products and services. We're willing to pay money to meet some of those needs. And some individuals and organizations can make money by supplying those needs. Meeting these sorts of needs then typically falls to the for-profit sector. There are other needs, however, that cannot easily be met by a for-profit organization, but we're still willing to pay for them. Needs like public education, fire protection, road maintenance, certain sorts of social services and safety nets and the like. We decide which of these needs we will meet, typically at the ballot box, by choosing leaders that align with how we believe these needs should be met. Meeting these needs becomes the responsibility of government then, and we pay taxes to meet those needs. But there remain still more needs that no one can really make a profit by meeting, and that will not be met adequately by the will of the people through government. Meeting these needs becomes the work of nonprofit organizations. And we pay to have these needs met by giving these organizations tax breaks and by supporting them with our donations. As a society, we've defined what sorts of organizations fall into this third category called nonprofits, and what sorts of standing they will have and how they will operate in our community. Often, you will hear the term 501c3 associated with nonprofits. The term actually refers to a paragraph buried deep within the IRS tax code. This paragraph describes a type of entity organized to meet the needs we've just described, needs not met by the for-profit and government sectors. Organizations organized for charitable, religious, and educational reasons, scientific, literary, public safety reasons, or amateur sports purposes. Recognizing that these organizations serve the public, the tax code affords them certain privileges, among them exemption from paying property taxes and taxes on revenue, and providing that contributions by donors can be tax deductible. It also places certain restrictions on these organizations. For example, while a nonprofit can do a limited amount of lobbying, so long as it's not a substantial part of what it does, under no circumstances can it participate in the campaign activities of those running for office. And this makes sense. Often a nonprofit, in trying to eliminate the issues, problems, and challenges standing in the way of its vision, it will need to address root causes, which often require changes in policy and legislation. But that is the extent to which 501c3s can participate in politics. The resources entrusted to the nonprofit cannot, for example, be used to the benefit of an individual candidate for office. And in a broader sense, none of the surplus earnings of the nonprofit can go directly to or inure to the benefit of an individual in the way that surplus earnings in a for-profit goes to its owners. That doesn't mean a nonprofit cannot pay its staff as an expense of providing its services. It just means that net earnings must go back into funding the work of the organization. Now, chances are you did not wake up one day and decide to start a nonprofit organization, any nonprofit organization. Likely, you first began to think about the ways our community could be better. And those ideas have formed into a sort of vision that you have for our community. But we're not there yet. We're at some distance from that vision. And standing between us and that vision are a variety of issues, problems, and challenges, barriers and obstacles that are in the way. You've probably been thinking about what needs to be done to overcome these issues, problems, and challenges, to move the community in the direction of your vision. What you believe needs to be done, the programs and services that you believe are needed, well, those form the mission of your nonprofit. But here's the thing. As you think about starting a nonprofit organization, you must ensure that collection of activities, that mission, is distinct from the mission of other organizations in our community, other entities that share your vision. Undoubtedly, there are other individuals and organizations that share your vision for our community, and they too have services based on their missions. To the degree that your mission is unique and distinct from theirs, well, these organizations become your partners in this work. To the degree that your mission duplicates or overlaps considerably with those other missions, well, now they've become your competitors. Competitors for funding, competitors for volunteers, for attention in the community to what you're doing. Quite frankly, if this is the case, you'll have a hard time sustaining your nonprofit financially. There is simply not enough philanthropic dollars in our community to support organizations that are duplicating services. So, before you do anything else, whether that is starting the paperwork or trying to raise funds or whatever, you need to spend some time clearly articulating your vision, understanding the barriers and obstacles to that vision, and honing your own unique mission. Be clear about your vision. What are you working toward? What will our community look like when your work is done? Remember, your vision will be what inspires others to join your work as donors, partners, and volunteers. Make sure that you understand the issues, problems, and challenges that you are trying to address. How can you eliminate these barriers if you do not really understand them, or the factors and causes that underlie them? Do you understand how they might be related to other obstacles? And how do you know their impact on your vision? What are the data? The effectiveness of what you do, that is your programs and activities, will depend on a thorough understanding of the issues and problems and challenges we face. It will also have a pretty big effect on your fundraising and other support. And finally, be clear about what you're going to do. Be clear about your mission. Do the homework. Do the research. Are you really addressing the problems? How do you know that? Are there others doing similar work? If so, how is your approach distinct, unique from others? If it's not, do you really need to start another nonprofit? Do you really need to be in competition with others for dollars and attention? Perhaps your passion for your vision can be fulfilled in another way, maybe by working for or volunteering for another already established nonprofit. If you are clear about the vision that you are wanting to achieve, if you're clear about the obstacles that stand in the way of making that vision a reality, if you're absolutely convinced that the mission you are contemplating is distinct, unique, necessary for the community, and that the community will support the work, well, then you are ready for the next step. You are ready to take on the paperwork. And that is the subject of our second segment in our 4-segment series about starting a nonprofit.